Everyone, it's that mustache cat. So earlier this month, Baldurs Gate 3 turned 2 years old, and in that time, it has grown to become what I believe to be one of the greatest games ever made, winning multiple awards, getting a devout fan base, and still having thousands of players every single day to this day. Now, if you're not familiar with the game, it's essentially a turn based RPG set in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, where after crash landing from a Mind Flayer ship, you discover that you're infected with a Mind Flayer parasite. So you and your ragtag team of adventurers have to go out and find the cure to your impending doom. Now, I'm mostly just making this video because I absolutely love this game. I really do. And I just wanted to talk about it for a little bit, especially since this game has grown just really close to my heart. And it's also one of the few games that I've spent well over 1,000 hours playing. I platinumed it on my PS5, and it's just become one of my absolute favorites. Now, I didn't originally play Baldur's Gate 3 when it first came out, mostly due to the fact that I actually didn't have a PS5 at that point when it did release. But I watched a whole bunch of trailers and gameplay footage of it, and this game became just one of the main driving forces for my absolute want, or at that time I felt an absolute need for a PS5. Luckily, I do have just absolutely incredible parents, and I was fortunate enough to actually receive a new PS5 for it was both a birthday and Christmas gift since it was so expensive, but they did give it to me on my birthday, and I was so ecstatic, and I really am super lucky to have them. But not long after that, I did buy my first copy of Baldur's Gate 3, and I was immediately sucked into the rabbit hole that is just the entirety of the Dungeons and Dragons franchise. I absolutely love it. I love the world. I love the characters. I love every aspect of it now. Now, I've always been a huge fan of the medieval fantasy genre, and this game was just absolutely perfect in every way. To me, at least, I distinctly remember playing with my fiance. You know, my character was all dressed up in his wizard robes and pointed hat, and we entered this dark crypt, and I cast my light spell on my staff and just illuminated the whole area. And at that moment, I just truly felt like a real wizard, and I loved it. It was such an amazing and cool feeling at that time. And speaking of my fiance, she also ended up getting really hooked on this game as well. So after watching me spend just about all my evenings playing this game, she decided to try it for herself, and she also really fell in love with it too. Eventually, we did end up having to take turns using the PS5 so that we could both play, our own storylines and our own characters. And she actually ended up buying her own PS5 just so that she could play the game on her own screen at the same time as me, so that we didn't have to take turns anymore. So that was pretty funny. In fact, one of my favorite memories was we both stayed up late for New Year's Eve. We wanted to wait until the ball dropped at midnight, and we heated up some hot cocoa, and we just played Baldur's Gate until it must have been 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. We were pretty tired, but it was really fun. It was one of my most memorable New Year's Eves that I've ever had. Baldur's Gate also came at a pretty good time in my life, mostly because I was feeling pretty burnt out from my corporate banking job, and I just hated every second that I was at work, and then I had to sit in an hour of traffic just to get home. But the saving grace was that when I did get home, I could at least go back and jump back into the world of Baldur's Gate and just escape whatever troubles I was having that day. Again, I've always loved the fantasy genre, whether that be in video games, movies, books, but I've always just found it so easy to escape into and really lose myself into whatever aspect of that genre that I was in. Now, that being said, I definitely took it a bit too far with Baldur's Gate, because I ended up taking almost 2 full weeks off of my job, and I did get into a little bit of trouble because every morning I would wake up and I would be faced with the decision of going into a job I hated and sitting in traffic, or I could just get cozied up on the sofa and really escape from it all into this whole new world. Eventually, I did get my life back on track there. I didn't do that forever. I didn't lose my job because of it. I did get into a little bit of trouble, but ultimately, the game really did help me through a lot. And it's just become tied to so many precious memories in my life now that I just really wanted to gush about it a little bit, even though I am, relatively late to the party here, and there are so many videos just absolutely glazing this game, and rightfully so. It's absolutely amazing. If you haven't played this game and it looks even remotely interesting, then you absolutely owe it to yourself to at least give it a try. And if you do, I hope that you lose yourself in this absolutely fantastical world just as much as I did.